Okay, go.
Tape 2. Good morning, Jeremy. Tape knife, and a larger thing that you call a hawk, which I think is called a tape knife. Anyway, this is what you want. And this is where you do your mixing. You don't, well, you can do it in the bucket, but usually that's for like when you're doing like really big projects. Most, like contractors. You just need a little bit, and you can put it on your large tape knife and mix it up, and then use it. All right, so open your thing up. You want to be careful that, like, if you get dried stuff like I do on here, or sometimes around the edges, that you don't mix that in, because the dried bits will get caught in the tape knife when you're applying it, and then you make ruts. So I'm going to grab a little bit of this. You able to see this up? You get a good shot at this reasonably close.
How do I move in?
Flip up the thing, or you can walk towards me.
But then I lose you.
I know, you don't need me. All right, so you're going to, I just scoop a little bit of this, and I put it on the larger tape knife. Maybe that's a good amount, or maybe slightly more. Now mine actually is pretty dry, so you were talking about putting water on. You could add a couple of drops just right on the plate, but really it would be like 2 or 3 drops would be enough. All right, and then I'm just gonna cut this. I'll do it slow motion, so I'm doing this. And actually, as I'm doing it, you can see I'm getting like these little, I don't know what you call it, but I was getting these little marks because it's dry and because it needs to be mixed. You get little air pockets and that sort of thing. So then I just paste it back on. I come at a different angle, doing this, that. Chances are good you'll get some on the floor as you're pushing it off there. I can come at another angle. And basically, I'm getting rid of the air pockets, and and if there's a slightly dry bit, if you got a hard bit in there, it's going to be there no matter what. But sometimes just little clumps of stuff you get out. And again, if you add a little water, you could do it. But see, this works. It's pretty smooth now. This will work, even though I haven't added any water. All right, put it on pause for a second. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Jeremy, I'm going to show you. I'm just going to add like a tiny drop of water. There you go. Actually. Alright, so there, put some on, even let some roll off, and that tiny bit will very quickly make this quite smooth. So that's why I said in my email, just a couple of drops. This is more than pliable enough. I wouldn't want it any wetter than this, because then it won't have the thickness when you apply it. And of course it'll take longer to dry, but more importantly it'll just be harder to apply, I think. Whoops. When you see those streaks, I just had one, there's a little bubble there. Those are the things, when you're still getting those, you want to get rid of them. Okay, so now let's say I'm done, and I've made sort of a mess of this thing across. I'm just going to sort of clean it off, get it to the middle a little bit. And then I want to clean off the the smaller knife, the one I'm going to apply with, because if that gets all gunky, that's the one where I'm going to apply. All right, pause.
Go.
Okay, and to clarify, so when I say clean off the knife, I just meant clean it off here. You can clean it off underwater, and sometimes you need to if it gets gunked up a little. But I just meant scrape it off. So the actual application, I think basically how that works, but I'll show you one. So here's and they did a really poor job here in the garage, and I would normally sand this, but I haven't in 6 years, and I'm not going to, so I'm just going to show you how to use it. But I put some on, and it's not just in the center. I saw you mentioned that in the email. I put, a modest amount on, especially for a second coat. You wouldn't use that much. And this part I think you may know, but it's called feathering, and I'm going to put all the pressure on the right side and let the left side sort of just float. And so obviously the right side needs to be smooth where I'm placing it down. So I got this going here. All right, and see, if you look over here, I got a tiny, little thin line, which I'm going to leave now. I could scrape it off. In this case, I probably can pretty easily, but even if I didn't, let's see, well, when I do that, then I make another line. So I'm just going to leave it. That's a quick sand later. The left side, well, now, I haven't done it as well. It's not done yet, obviously, because I got big ridges here. But so, I can do
Should move forward there because the light's not good here in this corner.
Okay. All right. Because then I gotta go to this side. All right. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm actually gonna do this one right here. All right. And I'm gonna, so you can still see the tape. See, they had taped this years ago before we moved in, and that was as far as I got. So anyway, so this is. So I'm gonna go and I got that. I usually start sort of in the center part first, and then now I'm going to do this going to the edge. I'm going to feather it. I'm putting a lot of weight actually on the top side, so that's nice and smooth. And then that. All right, it's been a little while. It's not perfect, but you can see. No, and then I had a little dry bit in there. Actually, that was probably from the old dried stuff there, which is why you have to sand that before you do it. So I got a nice smooth thing there. And frankly, I mean, if this part is all nice and smooth, I can sand a little here in the end pretty easily. Those edges are sort of the tough part in my experience. So. This is sort of generally a bad example because it hasn't been sanded and it's a big mess, but I really just wanted to show you sort of the feathering part, which you may already know. All right, and now I'm going to show you how to sand. Pause.
Go.
Hello again. For episode 3, I'm going to show you sanding. So the this I don't have the dry. This is just a regular sandpaper. It's like, actually this is 150. I should be using 220. Or, as I said, you could use drywall screen, which has a little, it's like a little mesh, and so it allows the sand, the drywall dust to sort of slip between and then out. And it does create a mesh, you're right, and so you want to really seal off the area pretty well. I just sand like this. And as I mentioned, by doing by hand, you would quickly sort of like make all kinds of ridges and stuff. But this just allows you to do it nice and evenly. But also the edges. See, you can see this little ridge here. That's the edge there. And so you want to sand I actually sort of hold it. I put more pressure on the outside than the inside a little bit, and you can just sand. Sort of towards the edges like that, and then now it's a nice smooth thing that once it's painted over you won't really notice. Now you want to be careful, you don't want to have like sort of, valleys, you don't want to have sort of create a secondary line here because you've been sanding, but you get the idea. So you just sort of sand, and you can, sometimes a little farther, sometimes a little closer, but the idea is to get around the edges to make the wall to plaster to joint compound transition all smooth. There you go. Good luck.